High in the Himalayas, where the mountains rise like quiet guardians and clouds move slowly between villages, there has long existed a honey unlike any other. For centuries, local communities knew it simply as mad honey. Not because it was dangerous, but because it was powerful. It was respected, measured, and never taken lightly. For the Gurung people of Nepal, mad honey was not a product meant for markets or headlines. It was part of life. Harvested from massive honeycombs hanging off sheer cliffs, this deep red honey came from bees that fed on rhododendron flowers. These flowers contain natural compounds that can affect the human body in unusual ways. The people who collected the honey understood this. They used it carefully, often in small amounts, as a traditional remedy for pain, digestion, and cold weather fatigue. The harvest itself was a ritual. Men climbed down ropes made of bamboo and fiber, carrying fire and handmade tools. Below them waited families and elders who guided. The process with chants and instructions passed down through generations. For outsiders, it looked dangerous and extreme. For the locals, it was simply tradition. For a long time, the story of mad honey stayed within the mountains. But change came quietly, through footsteps and notebooks rather than headlines. In the mid-20th century, anthropologists and botanists began visiting the Himalayas. They were curious about mountain cultures that had remained mostly untouched by modern life. In their research, they noticed repeated references to a honey that could heal or harm depending on how it was used. Scientific journals mentioned it briefly, often as a footnote. It was interesting, but not yet famous. Then came travelers. As trekking routes opened in Nepal and nearby regions, foreign hikers started staying in mountain villages. Around cooking fires, they listened to stories. Sometimes, locals would offer a tiny taste of mad honey, usually with a warning. Some travelers felt warmth, lightness, or dizziness. Others felt nothing at all. But almost everyone remembered the experience. These stories traveled home with them. They appeared in travel blogs, backpacker journals, and word-of-mouth conversations. Mad honey began to shift from a local tradition into a curiosity. The real turning point came when visual storytelling entered the picture. In the early 2000s, photographers and filmmakers documented the honey hunts. Images of men dangling hundreds of feet above the ground went viral before the word viral was even common. Later documentaries showed the full story, not just the danger, but the meaning behind it. The world was no longer just hearing about mad honey, it was seeing it. At the same time, scientists began studying it more seriously. Researchers analyzed the honey's chemical makeup and confirmed the presence of natural toxins that affect heart rate and blood pressure in small doses. Medical case studies appeared after tourists consumed too much. Honey bought outside the region, often without guidance. These reports added another layer to the story, fascination mixed with caution. News outlets picked it up. Headlines framed mad honey as mysterious, rare, and extreme. Some stories focused on its hallucinogenic effects, others on hospital visits. While this attention spread awareness, it also oversimplified the truth. For mountain communities, mad honey was never about thrill-seeking. It was about balance and respect. As global demand grew, traders began exporting small quantities. Online sellers appeared. Suddenly, a substance once gathered by hand for local use was being shipped across borders. This raised new concerns. Elders worried about overharvesting. Researchers warned about misuse. The honey that once belonged only to the cliffs now belonged to the internet. Yet even as mad honey entered the global spotlight, its core story remained rooted in the Himalayas. The knowledge of when to harvest, how much to take, and who should use it still lived with the people of the mountains. No lab or documentary could replace that wisdom. Today, mad honey exists in two worlds. One is modern and global, shaped by curiosity, research, and media. The other is ancient and local, shaped by tradition, patience, and respect for nature. Understanding mad honey means seeing both sides, not just the effect, but the culture behind it. What began as a quiet tradition in the high cliffs of the Himalayas became known to the world not through hype, but through human stories, shared slowly across borders, generations, and disciplines. Subscribe for real stories behind ancient traditions.